Hello, Ian.
Hi.
I've been waiting for this moment since 1978, when I was 18, and I had a daughter, and my parents sent me away, and my 4 siblings thought I was in France, and cards were sent to me, and I wrote them and sent them back to my mother's friend in France, and then she would post them home. And
how old were you when you were sent to France?
18. I didn't go to France. It was all a ruse so that people didn't know I was pregnant.
So you were 18. They said you went to France, but where did you go?
I went. They sent me to this place in Kilburn. They rented some rooms for me, and they came and saw me once a week and gave me money, and they paid the rent, and I lived there alone with a landlady. And then I went into the one of the last mother and baby homes in the country, Church of England, and I had my daughter in an NHS hospital, and I left the hospital alone. I gave birth alone, and I left the hospital alone with my baby, and I took a cab back to the home, which was in Putney, and the cab driver didn't take my fare. I always remember that kindness. And I had to look after her for 6 weeks because that was the law. And it was 24/7, as you do with a new baby.
Yeah.
And then one morning, this woman came, and I dressed her, and I put her in a carry cot. And she came we were in the matron's office, and she just, oh, is this her? And picked her up and walked out.
With your
and
daughter?
then and then about an hour later, it was the first time in my life I'd ever had a brandy. The matron gave me a brandy. I left with my suitcase and walked to the road, and I met my mother, and we got in the car, and nothing was said.
No conversation about how you are, or
no. We went home, and it was never discussed, and I had to lie about where I'd been and remember what I'd said to other family. And I was...
So you were supposedly forced to regale stories about your time in France, when in fact you'd been in a flat in Kilburn and giving birth alone. And so your mother wasn't there even to support you while giving birth?
No, I think she's probably been influenced by my father. If they never saw her, they wouldn't...
This was in 1978. I mean, this wasn't in 1950. I mean, 1978 was... There were single parents around in 1978. And what was it a religious reason behind your father's... Did he just have that old-fashioned belief that this was shameful?
It was a great shame. Yes, it was a great shame. And I left home 2 years later, and I never saw my parents for over 20 years.
Wow. Because of this?
Because of this. But then my daughter tracked me down 10 years ago. So...
And what's been the upshot of that?
Well, when we met, I married, and she found one of my brothers on the internet much more easily than me because of my married name. And I got a phone call from him to say that he'd had this message from this young woman who thought he was her uncle and mentioned me, and was I his sister, and he knew nothing about this. And so we met, and I knew immediately that she was mine. I knew by her smell.
Wow, seriously?
Which never left me. I didn't know I still carried it with me, but I knew when she fell straight into my arms, and that he was mine.